friends at Facebook, if you're there. I hope some of you are there. That'd be great. And let's check this out. Good evening. And whoever gets here first, let me know if you can hear everything okay, or if there's a really terrible... No one's here yet, I don't think. Okay. Maybe that's not the best place. I don't know. There we go. I'm live now. Bam. Bam. And now I just need the chat. There we go. That's not a bad frame. That's not bad. That's not bad. Where's my... I have no mouse. I have no mouse. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you're just getting here, please let me know in the chat if... Oh, there I am. If the sound is okay, or if it's really crackly, crunchy. I tried it earlier, and I'm not convinced this mic is doing all that well. So if you could let me know in the comments. I have no mouse. There it is. Don't go away. Come here. There we go. Let me know. No, I wasn't so much. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mary. I'm just glad you're here, my friend. I am just glad you're here. How does the sound sound? Sometimes my inability to speak is just breathtaking, I think. Sound quality is not so good. Is it crunchy? Okay, we're gonna... Yeah, I mean, that's on. Damn it. Sound quality is not so good. Alright, stick with me. We're gonna try something else. I don't know what is going on. But I think this is going to be crappy too. We'll see. What's going on? Okay, how about now? Does it sound any better now if I do this? And if is there still the hiss and the crunch and stuff like that? Because I noticed, you know what that means? I think that means it's either the cord or my phone, because these are great mics. These are very good microphones. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight, and also to my friends over the Poison Pen site over there. We're going to be going here in just a second. We're just figuring out the sound, making sure everybody can hear okay. Let's see. It sounds like there are crickets. Not in the, like, silence and no one is engaged, but, like, crickets. Okay. We're going to try one more thing. This is so irritating. Let's try this. Bam. Okay, how about now? Let's just go. We're just gonna go with the phone mic and see how that sounds. Give me a sense of if this is working or not. That would be super cool. And likewise, of course, we're good there. Awesome.
On both.
Okay. Oh, okay. Good. 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 How about now? Man, people just come and go so fast. How about now? Oh, the delay. There's a much longer delay than I thought. Okay. Because once we get this figured out, folks, we're going to be full steam ahead, and it's going to be a great show tonight for you. So I'm very excited. I just gotta wait. I gotta wait until you can hear it, and then get back to me. I am way behind you guys. It's so crazy. Do a little dance. Hello and welcome. Apologize for the delay, but can you hear me at all? Let's start with that. Very quiet. God damn it. I don't know. Okay, then in that case, we're gonna go back to this guy, because at least I know it kind of works. Bear with me, this is not how I wanted this to go. Whoa! Still sound muffled, but yeah, okay. Alright, here we go. We're gonna do this, and this. And then we are going to get started tonight. Let's go bow. And I don't know if that's... Oh, I wonder if... I mean, I'm so professional. Come on. There we go. There we go. Check, check. Bam, bam. Hello, hello. Alright, this is what we're going to deal with. And now we're just going to... Still sound muffled. Alright, we're just going to rock and roll. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tom Leveen Live. And I'd also like to say hello to my Facebook friends out there on the Poison Pen Facebook page. Hello, everybody, on Poison Pen Facebook page. And before we get started, I also want to say a very public and warm thank you to Poison Pen Bookstore for hosting me. Hence all these gorgeous books. And you can visit them here in the Scottsdale area or online at, I believe, poisonpen.com. Does that sound right?
That sounds good.
Poisonpen.com. Come check them out. Speaking of which, before we jump in, I want to let you know on, is it February or is it January? January 22nd? Does that sound right? No. That's something else. Coming up, I'm going to be posting about it soon. Coming up, I'm going to be hosting she's not a date. 27th?
27th.
January 27th. February 27th. January 27th. Good Lord. January 27th here at the Poison Pen. I will be helping to host and co-host Sarah Tarkoff. Am I saying that correctly? I think I am. Sarah Tarkoff, she is one of the head writers on the show Arrow, and her second young adult novel has just come out, and I'm going to be here interviewing her. It's going to be a great time. I'll tell you guys all about it in the days and weeks to come. So don't miss that. Come on down to Poison Pen. And if you're watching on Poison Pen, that means you guys especially, because you're watching on Poison Pen. What else? Which 27th? So we think it's, by the way, my delay looks to be about like 15, maybe even 30 seconds. So do keep chatting. Do keep putting out questions and answers on the chat board. I can see you guys here chatting. So, and I should say hi to everybody. Hi, Steve, and hi, Mary, and Sam's here. Hello, Sam, and Joy. Joy made it. She's still awake, so that's good. And Alyssa, hello. Hi, thank you all guys for coming. I appreciate it. And quick reminder, I'll say it again in a little bit, but if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, please be sure and do that. Just click the big red subscribe button and then click the little bell icon. Should be in there somewhere, and that way you'll get a notification every time a new video is posted or every time I go live. I'm going to be going live one additional time per week very soon. That's going to be a short 5 or 10 minute thing, and it's going to be geared for writers. We're going to do some writing tips, tricks, techniques, things like that. So, excuse me, be sure you subscribe and sign up for that. That goes double for you Poison Pen people over the Poison Pen Facebook page. So, oh my gosh, random. There's so much to talk about tonight, and I've been talking to myself like all day about the different things I want to go over. First of all, if you haven't seen this cover before, it's because this cover doesn't exist. This is the only cover of its kind in existence. This is the cover that the publisher originally wanted, and I remember opening the box and seeing the cover on the ARCs for the first time, and like I called my wife in. I was like, baby, this is the bestseller. If I ever have a New York Times bestseller, this is it, because look at this gorgeous cover. And why did I just moved. Oh my god, my camera is possessed. That's so weird. Okay. Hey Michelle, thanks for coming, Michelle, yay. You're gonna have to answer some questions later, Michelle, stick around. So yeah, so this was the original cover, and I was like, you are, like, right, Sam? It's just breathtakingly awesome. But at the time, and I don't want to name any names, but at the time, the publisher and a certain book chain were having some issues, and they said to the publisher, we are not going to put that on our shelves, you have to change it. This was like 2 weeks or so before we went to press, and so we ended up with this cover instead, which is beige. Because you know how you walk into a bookstore and you're like, show me your beige books, please, right? Like, nobody does that. So I just think, of all the many hits I've taken in my career, this one I think hurts the worst, because it's just perfect. I'll give you an example. Because I've had copies of Random with me when I go to Comic-Cons and conventions and stuff like that for years back now. Didn't ever really sell super well. Last year at Phoenix, what was once Phoenix Comic-Con, we brought this cover and put that up on the rack, and I think we sold 10, 15, 20 copies, something like that. Joy can tell you. We sold a bunch of Random just because of the cover change. Like, so there it is. It's beautiful and says so much more about the book than this one, but there it is. There we are. Let's see. Nobody asked for black books specifically either. Okay, maybe they don't, but I bet there's more people asking for black covered books than tan ones or beige ones. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and that cover, nearly got walked away several times at Phoenix Comic Con. And Michelle, oh wait, there's Mark and Michelle. I saw Michelle. I thought I saw somebody else. I don't know. Anyway, thank you all for coming once again. That was my cold open, I suppose. Let's go and do this. Random. If you are, for some reason, new to random, and I don't imagine you are. Oh, by the way, one last thing. As you're watching, and if things are going well and you're having a good time, please let people know. Go back to your social media, take the link, paste it into your, whatever your favorite social media is, let people know, and invite them over to come watch the show. Number of views on YouTube is super important. Super, super important, so I would appreciate that. Random, if you haven't heard the story before, and for you guys over here in my Poison Pen land. Random is inspired by a very sad, true, tragic story that took place in, I think it was 2010. A young girl, I think she was 15 years old, committed suicide. And not long after that happened, 4 or 5 of her classmates were then charged in her death. The prosecutor was basically saying these kids bullied her so much that they're responsible for her taking her own life. And it became this national news story. One of the Slate reporters, and I'm going to say her name wrong, Emily Bazelon, I think. There's a Z and an L, and I think it's Bazelon. I'm not 100% sure. On Slate.com. Followed it very closely, wrote a whole series of articles about it, later wrote a book about that and about bullying in general. It was a fascinating, made national headlines because it was kind of the first time, if not the first time, the charges were so extreme. Like these kids, if they were found guilty on everything that they were charged with, some of them were going to prison for 10 years, which, if you're 16, like think about it, like that's a serious chunk of time, right? It's a very interesting story. Again, obviously, horribly tragic. But I followed the story very closely, and I got to thinking about it, and I was like, most of us, I'm assuming, and I'm sure all of you here tonight, don't wake up and go, oh, I can't wait to go make that person's life hell today. Like, who does that? I'm sure there are people who do, and we have names for those people, but generally speaking, most human beings don't just get up, I don't think, and decide to go torment somebody else, right? I don't think they do. So what on earth was happening? What was the motivation? What was making, these kids go after this girl, if that was in fact what they were doing? And I was just very curious about it. And sorry, I'm trying to catch up on my comments here. So Alyssa is the first book of your. Oh, thank you! Yay! I'm so glad. Alyssa, I'm gonna have to come back and ask you some specific questions about it because of Tori and how Tori is perceived by many readers. We're gonna have to talk about that. That's part of our discussion tonight. Yeah. Mary heard about it. Yes. Michelle, you're so strange. Michelle's our next guest next week, by the way. Anyway, so what makes people do that? And I got to thinking about my junior high, high school, middle school career, and I was pushed around. It wasn't a relentless campaign, which is in a set of words we're going to come back to in a little bit. But I was not a popular kid. I without going into great detail, I was difficult to be around for various and sundry reasons that we'll get to in a few years here. And so I just wasn't popular. I got pushed around a little bit. All right, cool. Not so much in high school, but definitely middle school, junior high. And I was, that's hurtful. And I'm sure some of you watching, if not all of you, have at some point experienced that, whether that was in school or maybe it was at work or someplace else. You know what I'm talking about, right? So my first inclination was to look at this story from 2010 and really think about it from this poor girl's point of view and like what it felt like to have people dogpiling on you and jumping on you and just always making fun of you or doing whatever they were accused of doing. Like, oh yeah, and it's just all coming back and all the pain and the angst and the anguish and everything. Like, yeah, okay, great. And then I thought about, well, what about some of the bullies, though? What were they doing? Because I can name them right now. I can give you names of every kid who ever pushed me around in middle school and junior high, as I'm sure you can as well, right? And so I was thinking about them, like, well, what made them the bad guys? Like, oh, they were doing this, and this terrible thing, and yeah, and just totally castigating them. and some of you may have heard this story before, but I think I need to tell it again for context. And then I started thinking of the other kids who also got pushed around. And I remember telling you guys about Andrew Shat, which is like right off the bat, he's off to a rough start because his last name is Shat. That's not okay, right? And Andrew Shat had this crazy laugh. And I remember specifically, 6th grade, he was sitting in the back of the class, silently reading time, and he starts laughing, and he has this big crazy laugh, and all the cool kids turn around and said, "Shut up, Andrew, stop being so stupid," or whatever. And I turned around also and said, "Yeah, shut up, Andrew, you're so stupid," or whatever. And when I had that memory, like, everything froze. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm not a bully. I don't go around making fun of people to the best of my knowledge. I don't think I do. Wait a minute. That's not cool. And then I started thinking, then there was these other instances of, this girl and this kid and this, like, every once in a great while, the crowd would turn on somebody, and man, I would jump into that crowd, no questions asked. Why? Because it beat being the target, right? That's not an excuse. That's just what happened, okay? So all of these thoughts are going through my mind, and so I decided to write the story from a bully's point of view because I wanted to understand more about where they're coming from. Why do they make these choices? Is there something that we can learn from this? I think I've probably expressed to all of you before at one point or another that the main reason I write books is to answer questions that you can't Google. Why do people act this way? Well, I don't know, so I'm going to write a book and see if that helps me answer it. What I didn't understand, and what I don't think my agent or my editors understood as we were working on the book, was that the main character, Tori, was one of the accused kids. So it's based on this case from 2010, or inspired by, I should say, by this case, and she's one of the accused bullies. Well, that also makes her the villain of the piece. So is she the protagonist? Yes, but she is also the villain, and we don't see that in a lot of fiction. I didn't even necessarily know that that's what I was doing at the time, but that's how it turned out. And that was good. I thought that was a good thing to do. Not everybody grasped that, though, because it wasn't the kind of thing that you really announce at the front of the book, like, warning, the protagonist is, you can't really tell people about that. You kind of assume people are going to grab it or grasp it. So, Alyssa, if you're still with us, I would love to hear in the chat what you thought when you first read it, or from anybody else who has read it, what you thought of Tori that first time that you finished the book. Because, to say that she's flawed, it's certainly accurate. She's young. That's the other thing. I think a lot of people didn't give her any grace for being in her context, if that makes sense. And while I didn't necessarily want her to be sympathetic, that was never really my goal, I did want people to understand why she would make the choices that she made, if that makes any sense. So how do you guys think? So Michelle here, Michelle, by the way, for those of you tuning in, is a former English teacher, high school English teacher, so I value her opinion very highly. I think that makes it much more creative. Having the bully be the protagonist, flawed heroes are just like all of us. Yeah, exactly, very true. Alyssa, I thought that it's kind of in the gray area. Yeah, I thought that's what you wanted to be. It was. Thank you, Alyssa. So see, you got it. Not everybody understood that was what I was doing. And Mary says, yes, I caught the intent. Good, thank you. I love that she was made aware of what she had to live with. Yeah, that she was made to feel the weight of what she'd done. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. So some people got it. People, of course, who tune into the show got it because, you're smart. There's so many places I want to go tonight. So again, if you're just joining us, please feel free to share the link around, let people come in, invite people to come in so we can have this discussion, because the more the better for this particular topic, I think. Where do I want to start? There's I've talked about him before, there's a retired Navy SEAL named Jocko Willink, and if you haven't heard of him, you should check him out on YouTube. He's amazing. And he wrote a book a few years back called Extreme Leadership, and I haven't read the book yet, but I'm familiar with all of his podcasts and stuff like that, and he talks about this concept of extreme ownership, which I think is very cool. It's a very cool, sort of liberating concept to work with. And here's one example of it. A couple different stories. Number one, and I don't remember if it was Jocko or somebody else told the story. Anyway, there was a Navy SEAL commander, boss guy. I don't know what his title or rank was, but anyway, this Navy SEAL was in charge of putting together some kind of attack plan, some kind of mission to go on, right? And so he did all the work, spent the hours, days, weeks, whatever, putting this plan together, right? And then the day they were supposed to launch, there was some kind of weather incident and they had to cancel the entire mission. Okay. And I'm going to use a broad brush here. Most Americans, it feels like, or at least many Americans, many of us, many people, in that scenario would most likely and understandably go to our commanding officer, go to our boss, go to whoever and say, what do you want me to do? Like, I spent all this time planning the mission, I did everything I possibly could, the weather screwed it up. Sorry, what do you want me to do, right? And most of us, I think, would accept that answer because, yeah, it's the weather, what are you supposed to do? Well, the sort of Navy SEAL way of looking at the situation is this guy, instead of saying any of that, said, my bad, I should have planned for that. And you're like, how could you, dude, you can't plan for the weather. Extreme ownership says, no, I can't plan for the weather, but next time, I'm going to plan for weather. I'm going to have a backup to my backup to my backup to my back. I will keep doing backups until, it just gets to a point of insanity, whatever. This is on me. I was responsible for making sure the mission got done. And it didn't get done, not because of the weather, but because I didn't have a contingency for that particular thing, and I should have done that. That's on me. That's extreme ownership. That's the kind of the rough version of extreme ownership, okay? And I like that idea a lot, and I wish we would all do it more. And here's why. So, not too terribly long ago, and I'm not sure who all is here with us tonight, so I don't know if they're here or not. I did something stupid. Never intended to hurt anybody's feelings, but I did. It was dumb, and it was my fault. There's no question. I said something that was meant to be funny about one person, and instead it was unfunny for the other person, and there was a lot of backstory that I had no idea was going on, and it was just stupid. It was just dumb, and I still, this is, I don't know, a week or more ago now, and I just still feel like shit, because it was such an easy thing to not do, but I had to go and do it because I'm a fucking idiot. Pardon my French. Anyway, so yeah, but it was my fault. When that happens, and to me it seems to happen a lot more, I am not nearly as funny as I used to think I was. I think a lot of people have the tendency, and I don't know when, I feel like this just started within the last 10 to 20 years, when something like that happens, our default seems to be, well, I'm sorry if you were hurt. Now, wait a second. What's wrong with that phrase? I'm sorry if you were hurt. There's no if here. The thing of it, and this is the thing that Tori doesn't understand, is that I don't get to decide if you are hurt or not. That's not up to me. That's up to you. If you were hurt by something I said or did, then I don't get to say, well, if what I did offended you, I'm sorry. Like, there's this caveat. Like, no, you hurt me, asshole. How about I'm sorry? I'm sorry, period, end of story. If you are, and by saying it's this whole if you felt bad, I'm sorry, kind of puts this distance between us that is terrible. It's terrible. And yet I think, again, I don't know if it's an American thing or a Western thing or just human thing, but that one word, if, just changes everything. There are people there are situations in which I have been hurt by people, whether recently or in the past, and when I finally got up the gumption to actually say, you know what, this really sucked, and you really kind of hurt me here, to be brushed off, to be dismissed, we've talked about dismissal before, right, with mercy rule, and met with no acknowledgement that the hurt exists is so odd to me. And I think as we segue into talking about bullying and its effects and how to change it, that's one of the first things I think we need to kind of adjust in our speech pattern, in our language. I'm sorry if you were upset. No, there's no if. You're upset. I caused it in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry. That was, how can I not do that again in the future? How can I make this better? How can we reach a point of forgiveness or a point of, restoration or whatever big word you want to use, right? I just think we got to move away from that thing. It's because that's the kind of language I think Tori uses throughout the book. Like, she spends the whole book saying, what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything. And it's like, listen, even if legally you didn't, even if the vast majority of people who know the story don't blame you, someone was hurt by things you said and did. Say you're sorry. Like, take extreme ownership of that and saying, oh my God, Kevin, I had no idea or whatever, and I am so sorry that I hurt you. The end. Once you become aware of it, man, you have to do that, you have to do that. Allegedly. Thank you, Sam. What are you guys talking about? The faux apology always makes me angry. Yeah, the faux apology is a good way to put it. The faux apology. Although even the faux apology at least is a step. When there's certain people who, like, just straight up have looked me in the eye and been like, well, I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And I'm like, fucking, I get that. I just need you to say, oh my gosh, you were hurt. I'm sorry. You don't even have to be wrong. Just acknowledge that the hurt happened and say, I'm sorry. Or even if you can't bring yourself to say I'm sorry, at least acknowledge the shit. At least say, wow, that clearly hurt you. Something. But Tori and presumably her friends, although we never really hear from them after the fact, just spends the whole book doing this number and blaming everybody but herself. Anyway. Yeah. Remember, I'm sorry you were hurt. Totally removing yourself from the issue as if it were their fault. Yes, thank you, Mark. Absolutely. If your feelings were hurt, that's all on you. I didn't do it to you. You choose to be hurt. No. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And I feel like to address bullying, now we're going to that thing, which is, I'm going to get really worked up about that. It's not going to cut it. There's no sense of empathy there, I think that's probably the best word to use. There's no sense of empathy, of just acknowledgement even. Just acknowledge it, yeah, this hurt. Thank you. That's all. So I hope in this most recent fuck-up of mine that I adequately said that. I tried to be very deliberate in my apology and not say, if you were hurt, and say, oh my God, I just discovered that I've hurt you. I'm so sorry. I hope I did that. I think I did. I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that I did, so yeah. Alyssa says, Capre is here. Hey, Special K. All right, can we call you Special K now? Capre, it's so good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here. That's awesome. Alyssa, I was going to say, since in the book it was a group of people who did it, everyone is pointing fingers. Yes, and not acknowledging that they did something themselves. That's so true. Absolutely, Alyssa. Yeah. Did you... I'm trying to think how I want to phrase this. Did you... I guess, Alyssa, I'm curious, and everybody else too, what was your final assessment of Tori? Because the other thing this is more of a writer thing, but like what was frustrating about some of the reviews, particularly on a certain website, was to... I do this a lot. I don't know what this means. That you can still enjoy the story for whatever the story is, right? Even if it can be satisfying. It can be a satisfying story. I will tell you, I was thinking about it today, and in retrospect, I don't like what I did with Tori and the other guy, and the way that ended. That was a little forced, frankly. And in writing the stage play version, which is available in German, by the way, for some odd reason, I took that element out because it didn't that felt shoehorned in, and I don't like it. That's one of the rare times in my novels where I'm like, yeah, that did not belong there, and I wish I could take it back out. Anyway, the you're I thought Tori was she is. Yeah, Tori's a teenager. Absolutely, Sam. Which I think is part of it. And then not to speak ill of teenagers. I love teenagers are great. But can we acknowledge the brain development? Right? Like, there's just shit you're still working on until you're like 25. So can we at least take that into account? Not everybody could. The other guy was, I don't remember his name. Her buddy who sticks with her and then tries to tell her to not take the phone call. I don't remember. The friend who helps her. Sam, no, don't you dare, don't do it. We don't talk ill of teenagers on my show. I did think it was good. Oh, thank you, because it was a good self-reflection, basically saying that every action has a consequence. Absolutely. Thank you, Alyssa. I'm glad to hear that. Noah, yes, there we go, Sam. Thank you. Yes, Alyssa, absolutely. That's what I was shooting for. So yeah. Yeah, he didn't feel right. Yeah, Sam, you're totally right. I'm not happy with how that played out. And okay, here's an example. Then I'm going to go back to bullying. Here's the thing about that, Sam. I could very easily say, well, I lost my editor on that book, like I did on all my other books, and so the book wasn't orphaned, but yet it never really got the same kind of editorial attention that the other my first two books got. Maybe three, but they're definitely the first two. And so it'd be very easy to go, well, lost my editor quit or got fired or whatever. Like, I didn't have any help, so of course those mistakes happen. Yeah. Yeah, I could say that. And anybody in the publishing industry would be like, yeah, I get it. That doesn't help the situation, and that's not extreme ownership. Extreme ownership is me saying, as the author, as the creator god of this universe that I've created, I really should have caught that. That's my responsibility, and I need to take steps or make plans to make sure it doesn't happen in the future to the best of my ability. That's what I'm talking about. The same. I don't even want to go. I don't even want to go there. It's just too early. Long-standing feud with anime fans. Danny's not here, is she? Can't always write perfectly. Of course not. I think the story worked well, though. Thank you. He didn't fit right, but I've seen worse. Yeah, that's okay, Mary. You can say that. That's absolutely true. I agree. Here we go. We've got this anime fans. There's going to be a fight. All right, I'm going to move on. I can't wait to see where that goes. Have fun, everybody. I'll address Poison Pen. Bullying. I was thinking a lot about this today and about the show tonight. And here's where I'm stuck. I was looking up some statistics and programs and stuff like that. Nobody seems to think it's not a problem. I think we nationally more or less seem to agree that there's an issue with bullying, which is, I think, again, coming back to that phrase, relentless. Bullying, to me personally, my personal definition is going to fall into that ongoing sort of thing. Whereas, like, when I got attacked, that was a one-time thing. There was no relationship there. It was just a bunch of dudes looking for a fight, and they found us, and then that was it. That wasn't bullying. That was assault. Very different. Can bullying include assault? Absolutely. But that was not a bullying incident, Schools, homes, churches, civic group, whatever, groups of people where one person or a group of people is continuously being jumped upon, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever, that I think is more what we're talking about when we talk about bullying. What happened to Kevin in the book was cyberbullying, no question. And it wasn't just cyber either, right? He talks about some of the stuff that happened out in real life. So he was being relentlessly teased and bullied by this group of people. I think we would hopefully agree on that. So I was doing some research on it, and some of the current authorities on the topic seem to agree, and I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, would also agree, particularly when we're talking about student-aged people, that adult intervention is like the number one thing. Like we have to, as the adults, we need to intervene whenever we see it, immediately address it, stop it, and then try to sort it out. Makes perfect sense. You would think that people would do that kind of naturally. Well, do we need programs in our schools and our churches and our whatever about respect and about, and anything anti-bullying and learning to be empathetic and stuff like that? Do we need those? Of course we do. Absolutely. No question. But if while we're doing that, my kid gets choked out on the playground tomorrow morning, what am I supposed to tell him? You see what I'm saying? So like as an adult, never mind as a writer who has a platform with young adults and teachers and librarians, it's very easy to kind of assume the professorial stance or tone and say, well, with bullying, what we really need to do is some integrated programming that's going to address the core problems that are facing the American teenager. Like, okay, that sounds good, and maybe you could put it on a grant application. My kid just got choked out. What program is gonna help him this morning as he's crying in the nurse's office because a bunch of other kids ganged up on him? What do I tell him? Don't worry, man. We're going to start a program at your school. You see what I'm saying? Again, don't misquote me. Do we need those programs? Yes, we have to. Absolutely. What do we do in the immediate? What am I supposed to tell my kid? What should... I'm going to leave it there. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Let's see. Mary says, so much in our society values pride in an extreme. Yeah, humility is hard. It is, Mary. It is. Humility sucks. But it's so much faster and easier. It solves so much. It really, more often than not, I feel it does. Sam says, I think it's worth distinguishing between personal responsibility and self-flagellation. Ooh, that's interesting. If something was out of your control, you have a responsibility to learn from it, but beating yourself up over that because it went wrong isn't healthy and doesn't solve anything. I think I agree with that, Sam. That's true. I think that's an important distinction to make. Absolutely. I agree with that. The program should be government-sponsored hugs. That's going to be my next book. I'm going to write a book about government-sponsored hugs and see how it goes over. Not that it's a bad idea, because maybe it is, but we can't... Solutions, Joy says solutions should be both individual and systemic. Yes, they should. Such as what? You see what I'm saying? Because here's, okay. I'm so frustrated by this topic, which is, again, one of the reasons I had to write a book about it, to try and find some answers. Clearly I didn't. Because we all know of, or maybe even some of you, I hope not, but we all know stories of the kid who had to go to another school or leave the state or do whatever because of the relentless campaign of bullying, right? We've all heard these stories. And it seems like, okay, what program exactly is going to stop that from happening tomorrow morning on the bus? At the bus stop, in the cafeteria, on the playground, in the chapel, at the, whatever, in the boardroom, in the break room, for that matter, right? Because we all know this is not a kid thing, exclusively a kid thing. What the hell kind of programming do you institute that's going to put a stop to this? I mean, what are the proactive steps you take now to protect yourself or your kid or whomever, or your entire class if you're a teacher? Michelle, if you're still here, I'd love to hear what you had, anything you've done. Okay, Capre says anti-bullying programs are very lackluster, but schools with zero tolerance policies are more likely to prevent significant amount of bullying cases. Capre, interesting you say that. From what I've read recently, apparently the zero tolerance policies aren't working for shit. From what I've read. Yeah, that it's, and probably, and I'm willing to bet the reason, they don't really express why, at least not in the research I did, in the brief period I was looking at it, but it seems like zero tolerance is this all or nothing. Like you did it, bam, you're done, right? And it's probably, I'm willing to bet, is unevenly applied. Because, I don't know, maybe we've seen that in society, but what do I know? So I bet that's probably why, though. But apparently, allegedly, zero tolerance isn't effective. Now, I have heard, this is a few years ago now, I've heard of some schools, and I don't know what they call it, but when a kid gets in any kind of trouble, instead of immediately going to a suspension and expulsion, some kind of punitive action, they do more of what we would say with a toddler. They do a time in as opposed to a time out. This is something Joy brought to my attention when we first had kids, and it's largely effective. So instead of, okay, you're in trouble, so you go over there for a set amount of time and stay away from everybody, it's you did something wrong, upsetting, harmful, whatever, come here, and let's sit quietly and work and do something else for a few minutes, and then work out what exactly happened so that it doesn't happen again, kind of thing, which sounds all very loosey-goosey, hippy-dippy, whatever, but I've seen it work. And what some schools have instituted is this things where a kid has done something wrong, whatever it is, and they bring them in and say, all right, so you just did this thing, you're in trouble, what's going on? How are things at home? What is happening? And very frequently, unsurprisingly, the stuff that they discover, whether they're counselors, nurses, whomever, hopefully trained people, doing these inquiries, finding out that, oh shit, there's like awful stuff happening at home. Well, that's not a surprise, because again, most kids aren't waking up and saying, I'm going to make this other kid's life hell. They're waking up and something terrible probably happened that morning or the night before, and they're pissed and they're frustrated, and they take it out on the nearest target. Or like in my case, that was certainly one thing that was happening, but also I was just in the group, quote unquote, in the group. I have nothing against Andrew Shatt. I don't care. But everyone else was looking at him, so man, I'm jumping in so that they don't look at me, because God forbid I stand up for him, right? So I'm curious, yeah, what are something welcome to America. Sam, I'm really beginning to enjoy your sense of snark. Joy says, the anti-bullying program is great on a structural level, but the individual adult still needs to stop the bullying action when it happens. Oh, can we talk about that for just a moment? Not just rely on the larger program. Yes. Michelle says, my comment got raised. Okay. I was saying the bullying programs I've seen have been canned. Yeah, what you're speaking about now is, I think, called restorative justice. Ooh, yes, that sounds right, Michelle. Thank you. So when you say canned, you mean like packaged? Like, here's your anti-bullying program. Like, okay, but the issues facing Dobson might not be the same as the ones facing Camelback, which might not be the same as what's facing Christ Lutheran School or whatever, right? Very different, very, very different schools, very different groups of people. That was the bro science quote, I think. The only way if everyone else loses. Yeah, Sam, you don't believe that, do you? I don't believe for a second that you believe that, because I don't. It's taken me, although I will tell you this, it's taken me a long time to believe it. I too, we get raised with this sense of scarcity, and that well, Stephen King is this mega super popular author of all time. I can't possibly be that because he's already done it. Bullshit. Well, J.K. Rowling's already, so I can't